That's where the problem is, and most people just don't understand that. I mean, we didn't understand a lot about fat until only recently. When I was in med school, fat was just tissue, but now we know it's its own endocrine organ. It is its own thing. It is its own entity with hormones and function, and it really does play such an important role in our overall health and longevity, and we're only just beginning to scratch that surface.
The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Hello, West Michigan. This is Grand Tap Media Business TV. My name is Pamela Keim, your host. The spirit of the show is to introduce West Michigan to all the businesses, nonprofits, individuals that can help us thrive in our lives. Well, how's your New Year's resolutions going? Well, a lot of us make health resolutions. We want to lose weight. Spring is already here. We already see it. And maybe we look in the mirror and we didn't make that goal. Or maybe we did and we still are struggling with the last 10 to 15 pounds. And most of us think it's, we should be eating less, no carbs, fasting. Maybe we should be keto. Maybe we should be running, walking steps. I don't know. There's so much information out there. I still can't figure it all out. Well, I have a very good guest for you today. It's Dr. Carrie Holland, and she is a CEO and a full-time coach that helps women build strong habits to create healthy relationships with eating and fitness. And she's going to be here today to share some of the things that can help us break some of the habits that we might be having or some of the myths that have been going around for years. So I want to welcome Dr. Carrie Holland here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Pamela.
All right, so I reached out to you because I started seeing your stuff on social media, your postings on health and fitness, and it's not like we don't know what to do. But really, what do we do? There's so much information. Some of us are so stuck, or some of us have really gotten really badly out of shape as we've gone through menopause and the stress that we find ourselves in today. And I think it is. So share who you are.
Sure.
And how did you get into this, and why do you think it's so important that women really need to know that it's really strength training that can really help us maybe move the needle?
Yes, and it's one piece to a very large puzzle that I slowly put together for myself, and I felt that it was so important that now it's what I do every day.
Did you struggle with your weight? Is that what caused it?
Right out of college, and to be honest, the fitness piece was more about the mental aspect and the clarity that it brought me when I was going through some of the hardest times of my life. And now I feel that if I can bring that to anybody, then I am doing my job for sure.
But you're an MD.
Yes, I am.
Did you, when you were in medical school, did you learn a lot about nutrition and did you see people coming in? It's like, I just can't lose, because women get so depressed because we try. Some of us really do try.
Well, and that's part of the problem. So you would think that being a physician that I would just know how to counsel my patients on exercise, but we really did not get that in medical school. I can diagnose and treat your medical conditions, but when it comes to dealing with your weight, dealing with exercise, fitness, and nutrition, we didn't get that. And so most of my training for what I do now honestly came after medical school, when I went through my own burnout and realized that fitness really was a very vital piece of that therapy for me. And that's when I learned about strength training. I got a personal training certification. Then people started asking about how to eat, and I didn't have answers. And so that's when I got a health coach certification. But then I realized that many of the clients didn't know how to put that together. To your point, you said, we know what to do, we're just not doing it. And it's not because of lack of information. There is so much information.
There is.
There's so much information out there, but it's really our minds, it's our brains, it's what we do with that information, and it's getting past the limiting beliefs, the negative self-talk, the lack of confidence, all of that. And that's when I got a life coach certification, and I smashed all of those pieces together, and now I do what I do.
And so so your ideal client are women?
Yes.
That are at a certain age?
I work work largely with professional women who have checked all the boxes. They got the degree, they got the career, maybe they got a partner, started a family, and they have done it all, often at the expense of taking care of themselves. So honestly, it doesn't matter if they are married, not married, partnered, kids, no kids. Many of the women that I work with, they are just fried and they want to feel better. And so I help them build strong habits. So everything we do comes back to eating, moving, and thinking, and I help them establish those strong habits.
Okay, so that's, we've heard a lot of the information we have out there. There's so much, and now our relationship with food really kind of sucks. I will tell you that. I mean, I look at banana, bad. I look at, a certain other fruits, pineapple, bad. And then all of a sudden I look at spaghetti, oh, that's bad. This relationship thing, how is this affecting us? Because we have to eat.
Right.
Right? You can give up drinking, you can give up smoking,
Right.
you can give up some other bad habits that you might have, right? Gambling.
Right.
But you can't give up food.
Yep.
And forever. And you know what I'm saying? You'll die. So we struggle because we have to have it. But now everything is, you open up the refrigerator, oh, I don't want to have that because it's got too much carbs. Where are we at here? I mean, you got the the background, the MD. I mean, where are we at on this kind of stuff?
We are at a point where there is so much science that we have lost sight of the basics. So what I will say is that I love this quote, and I don't remember who it came from, but science is the art of proving what we know wrong. Okay, so really think about that. So think about the low-fat craze. Think about the late 80s, early 90s when fat was demonized. And what happened? Everything became high sugar, low fat, right?
Right.
Then fast forward a few years, science taught us we were wrong, and that in fact there are healthy fats out there that are very much essential to our diets. And so then the paradigm shifted all again. And so fat was no longer demonized, and then carbs became demonized, and then now carbs are bad, and if I eat that banana, am I gonna get fat? But now we know that there's different kinds of carbs. There's complex carbs that come from fruit and vegetables. There's refined carbs that come from the middle of the grocery store, and we know now to eat more of the whole real carbs versus the processed carbs. But yes, everything has been demonized at one point or another, and it's largely from science because we're just constantly learning. And so what we know is that what we know now is probably going to be the stuff that we laugh about 5 years from now.
All right, my one question, can we have bread?
Yes, we can. But you bring up such a good point though, and I get asked that question all the time. And what I would simply say is that there is no food is off limits. No food is off limits. I had a call today with a client who was feeling bad about herself for eating a brownie. And I was like, no brownie is off limits. The key is to learn how to moderate that and to not let that one brownie turn into a cookie, turn into an ice cream sundae, turn into a candy bender, and I'll start over again on Monday. That's the key, is learning how to treat ourselves and enjoy those things without it becoming, I'm totally off the bandwagon. That's really the key, and that's one of the things that I help my clients work on.
All right, we're talking, you help with the mindset, right, of these women. And I will show you, I heard, and you might have heard this study. They did a study of housekeepers in a hotel, right? These are women. You remember the study, right?
Yep.
They weren't the thinnest, but they couldn't figure out why, because these housekeepers were moving all the time.
Yes.
And so they took the housekeepers aside and said, look, we're just going to change the mind instead of the diet. So they talked to them about, hey, you should be losing weight. They had this little kind of mind thing, and I wanted to run this by you. And eventually, they started losing weight because they believed, because they were moving around and cleaning, vacuuming, going up and down the stairs, whatever. Well, I should be losing weight.
Yes.
Now, why weren't they losing weight before is how powerful the mind is. Can you share where you're seeing that component when you're dealing with women? Because all we do is beat ourselves up that we're not doing a good job.
And this story illustrates, or this study illustrates such a good point, that it's just one small shift, right? Believing that every piece counts. Like these women, these housekeepers were working their tails off, changing beds, moving sheets, pushing vacuums, moving furniture, and all of that counts. We live in a society where if it's not 30 minutes on the treadmill or 50 minutes on my Peloton, it doesn't count, but it all counts. A 10-minute walk, if that's what you have, it all counts. And so when these women realize that that exercise and that movement, it all counts, there's a shift. There's a mind shift that says, oh yes, this is a success, because what it led to for these women was for them to eat differently, for them to move even more, for them to take better care of themselves.
You think they weren't punishing themselves? Is that the key?
No, we can't punish ourselves. You cannot beat yourself up into a better version. It does not work that way. And that is something I will work with my clients with until they've got it straight. We often spend, and especially my high achieving, very successful women that are used to beating themselves up to get the A+, to get the degree, to get the job, they are used to beating themselves up. And that may work for your career to a point, but it does not work for our soul. It does not work for our bodies. It does not work for our minds. And so we have to unlearn a lot of those negative thought loops. That's
Is that what you start with a person is, what is their relationship with food? Maybe, you know, how they were, most of us I grew up in a generation where most of the people were thin. I mean, it was just right on the verge where we got into this whole, you know, fast food constantly, right? Before all of us ate our meals at home, most of us were thin. So we knew what it was to be thin, right, at one time, and then we made bad habits, schooling, you know, lifestyle, changed everything. And now you have a whole generation where they're not even getting to that point. Are you concerned that we are raising generations that may never know what it really was experienced at one time to be thin? The healthy. Is that a better word to say?
I mean, I think of it as healthy, yes, because I don't think that thin necessarily equates with healthy, because we know now that it's not just thinness that matters, because there are thin people who have...
They have problems. They have lots of problems.
And really what I look for and what I really work on is not thin, but strong. My goal is not to make any of the women that I work with smaller. My goal is to make them stronger, and that means improving their relationships. First and foremost, you said, you know, with food, it starts with themselves. Right. They have to improve their relationship with themselves first before they can go and change the way that they eat, before they can change the way that they move, before they can actually love their bodies. So it always starts up here first. And we do it all together. I mean, we work on the mindset piece while we work on what is a healthy meal for you? What does it feel like to move your body? What are the things that you love to do? Because not everybody wants to do HIIT. Not everybody wants to run on the treadmill. Right. Some people want to go to a dance class. That's fine. I don't care what you do. I just want you to move your body in a way that feels good and that you can stick with. And that's true for our kids. Like, we need to impress upon that on our kids. Our kids need to learn that. They need to see it from us. We need to role model it for them. And so that's where this comes from.
You don't need to, I think it's the worst is when you say you need to go out and play because, you know, you're getting too blank.
Yeah,
you know what
never.
I mean? You're overeating.
Absolutely.
Or whatever. That's the wrong.
Oh,
just
absolutely.
Go out and play.
Yep.
Okay, so women, we see this even with celebrities and whatever. We all know how. We all lose weight on diets. They all work. But we can't, what I watch is people, can they keep a lifestyle like that? Mm-hmm. Can they keep that a maintenance for over a year or two? Yeah. Then I find it a success. But there's so many people that now have surgeries. They're taking pills. They're spending hundreds of dollars a month to get off, you know, some of the weight, 50 pounds or whatever. A lot of people it's 50, but even that. And I was priced out something when I was trying to get away from just. My doctor says, "Why do you think you need to lose 10 pounds, or 10, 15?" I don't know. I think because I think I should be smaller. I'm not really sure, but it feels, women feel that way, right? Have you ever met anybody who says, "Oh yeah, I'm perfect. Wait, I don't need to." Have you?
I mean, we have been enculturated to believe that there is a certain ideal body type, and
well, you look wonderful. Your muscles are nice. You know, I look at you when you walk in the door, and I'm like, I want to look like that.
But I didn't used to have muscle prior, like straight out of college. My only goal was to get thin, and I got thin, and I was miserable. And so what it taught me, and what I teach to many of the women that I work with, is that being thin is not the answer to your unhappiness. You're just going to be in a smaller size body. Like, that is not the answer. You're not gonna be happier once you fit into the smaller dress. You're not gonna be happier once your waist size is whatever. You're not gonna be happier once you're a size 2. It starts here, it really does. And that's where most diets fail us. You're talking about all of these fad diets that promise quick results, and they will, but they're missing the key piece. They're missing our mindset. And when you've ignored the mindset altogether, it's only a matter of time before you can't hold on anymore. It gets too hard, and then the weight will just pile right back on.
Why does it come back double? Why does it come back fast? Why does it come back fast? There's a go.
Yeah,
it took me months to get it off, maybe even a year, but I can put it on in no time.
So here's the cool and crazy thing about fat. So you are building fat cells up until the time you're about mid to late adolescence, early adulthood. So in that time, if you eat more than your body needs, you will put on more fat cells and they will grow in size. The problem is that once you're in adulthood, if you lose weight, those fat cells will shrink, but they will never go away. So the fat cells that you have by the time you enter early adulthood, you have them for life. You have them for life. And so that's why it's so important that our kids, that are young adults, that are teens, that are college kids, learn how to take care of themselves, because by the time they hit early adulthood, the fat cells that they have are the ones that they have for life. And so even if they lose weight, they still have those fat cells there, and they are just ready. So as soon as you eat more than you need, those fat cells, they are there, they are primed, and they are ready to get big again. And so that's why the yo-yo dieting can be so harmful, because your body is just waiting for you to overeat, so that fat comes right back on.
Oh my goodness, I just saw somebody prior year, they were doing so well. They lost almost 100 pounds, whatever, and then I saw them, they regained most of it back, and I was just brokenhearted, because I know that how hard it was for that person to do that. I don't get that, but now that you explain it, they stay forever. You can't get rid of them ever. Isn't that? I think people should know that, because you shouldn't get that when you were young. Try to get those. I've heard a little bit about that, but I didn't really understand it. But
that's where the problem is, and most people just don't understand that. I mean, we didn't understand a lot about fat until only recently. When I was in med school, fat was just tissue, but now we know it's its own endocrine organ. It is its own thing. It is its own entity with hormones and function, and it really does play such an important role in our overall health and longevity, and we're only just beginning to scratch that surface.
I was going to say, when it comes to life, I guess you don't want to use the word diet, but because it is a lifestyle change.
Yeah.
I always say that's not going to be. You can't ever go back.
No.
All right, so you have women, and with your medical background and being an MD or whatever, you probably are able to answer a lot more questions than the average, person that is doing this for a living. How does that work?
I think that the combination of training that I have accumulated over time has helped me to be more than a trainer. I don't see myself as a personal trainer. I don't see myself as a health coach. I really do truly see myself as a life coach, and I'm able to take all of the pieces. I can wear my medical hat, I can wear my personal trainer hat, my nutrition hat, but most importantly, the life coach hat, so that I'm equipped to deal with whatever clients come to me with. So I have some clients that are working now to change their careers because they've checked all the boxes and they're fried and they're ready to change it up. So I have some that are writing books, some that are opening their own gyms, some that are really opening new doors for themselves. I have others that just love what they do, but need to find a better, dare I say it, work-life balance so they can spend time taking care of themselves, because so many of my women just have not been able to make the time to take care of themselves. And so we really work to carve that out and shift the mindset so that it's not seen as something selfish, because so many women we think that it's selfish to take care of ourselves when really it's essential. It is absolutely essential.
And I think your children need to see you do that yourself.
Oh, heck yes.
They need to watch you do that, so then they're able to say, okay, mom's, even though it seems hard to say no to them, no, mom's going to the gym, or mom's going for a walk with her friend.
Yes. She's
not going to be able to read to you until I get back. You're just going to have to wait.
Yep.
You're going to have to wait. And, kids need to see that, because they need to say no, correct?
We're role modeling it for them.
Right.
Absolutely.
How much do you think today, when you see your clients, is stress, besides the stress of worrying about all the food, but the constant stress of comparison? Image. Social media has not helped that situation whatsoever. We're only seeing that. I actually heard, a couple months ago, they said there's more millionaires in the world than there is people with six-pack. Now, when you're in the fitness world and when you're in all of these people that you're following, such I do too, because I'm always looking for the right answer, the magic fit. I was just blown away by that comment. I'm like, what? It's like, we all think in our echo chamber that everybody is the same. They're all working at this. But not true, right?
No.
Not everybody. So that's why social media is kind of, is not a good thing, because that's not what you. Does that make sense? That you're trying to live up to something you're not even going to be. Can you get a six-pack? I mean, you probably wouldn't, but what does that even look like for us?
I think that fitness is going to look different for everybody, and I do agree. I think that the social media, especially the influencers and the ads and schemes that promise these ridiculous results we see these results and we think, well, if I eat that way, can I look like that? But we have no idea. We have no idea what these people have gone through, and we have no idea what they're doing in real life. I mean, I remind my clients, I remind myself that social media truly is a highlight reel, and there really is no way of knowing what's going on behind the scenes. So I really try to steer my clients away from comparison. I mean, I call it compare and despair for a reason, and to rather meet themselves where they're at. And I really try to turn that energy inward, because we spend so much time and energy looking on what other people have, or what we should have, or what is impossible for me. When in reality, that energy can be spent working on ourselves and turning it inside, offering ourselves just a little bit more self-compassion, because I find that many of the women I work with, we're not nice to ourselves. And we really, again, that is the foundation for any change. If change is going to happen, it has to come from being kind to yourself first. And so instead of comparing and getting upset about what you don't have, we turn it inward and try to work on, okay, what do you have? What is possible for you? I don't care what anybody else is doing. I care what you're doing, because you're in front of me.
Yeah, okay, so your clients go, and I think that's the difference between some of the, the men and the women. Men don't spend their social time always leading to who's doing what, and exercise, and who's doing what diet, what, you know what I'm saying? We always, with my friends, it always gets down to that, eventually, that conversation. Not so in the other world. And I don't know why are we so hard on ourselves, our self-talk? Why is it that when we go out and have like a nice dinner, we can't kill ourselves why did I eat the dessert? Or I'm trying to make small decisions, and you're talking about making decisions too. I share a dessert with my husband the other day, but normally I would have my own. I mean, I'm making little decisions, but I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I'm just saying those little decisions help me make bigger decisions, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, and that's so essential. Like, I will have somebody come to me and say, well, I want to lose 20 pounds. And that's great, and my first question to them will be, how do you lose that first pound? And they'll say, well, I don't want to lose 1 pound, I want to lose 20. And I'm like, that's great, but in order to lose that 20 pounds, it's going to start with the first one. And so what is the smallest change that you can make that is going to move the needle? Because as you said, it has to be sustainable. So if we're going from eating anything and eating whatever to 0 carbs and nothing but meat, that's not going to work for most people. So what is the smallest change that you can make that's going to be impactful, but that you can stick with? It has to be something that they can stick with, otherwise it's not going to last. And then they're just going to rebound and put on more weight, and that's even worse, not just physically, but also mentally. That yo-yo diet, like the yo-yo dieting, it's terrible for our metabolism, but it's also terrible for our brains. It's terrible. I mean, it's
terrible to be angry at food.
Yeah.
Because I think, isn't it anger that, well, what do you mean I can't, telling us no. Yeah. Eventually you snap.
Yeah.
Don't you? It's like, I want to live a life that I can have ice cream once in a while.
And that's true. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
As I said before, nothing is off limits. And I don't ever encourage my clients to tell themselves, I can't or I should not, because I think that our language is so important. The words that we choose, not only to tell ourselves, but that we say out loud, that reflects our world. So if you were to come to me and say, like, I can't have that brownie sundae, that's not true. You absolutely can. But think about how different it feels to say, I choose not to have this brownie sundae today because I had one yesterday, so I'm going to stick with my plan, and I choose not to have it today. And there's a huge difference between I can't, I shouldn't, and I choose. So different. And the difference is empowerment. And if I can help somebody establish that, then we're on fire.
And if it's better if they make the decision as opposed to somebody telling them they have to do it. If they make, I don't know, there's something empowering about that. Okay, I can make that decision. I can still maybe have one bite of my husband's ice cream, and walk away, and I feel good. Maybe I can go buy the appetizers at an event and not grab them and wait for dinner.
Yeah.
I mean, those little small decisions really do make you feel kind of empowered, don't you think?
Absolutely. I had a client, or it wasn't even a client, it was a listener to the podcast who sent me a message and said she had used some of the tools that I had mentioned in the podcast. While she was at a girls' weekend, she chose to get vegetables instead of French fries. I mean, that is a small thing, right? But imagine what the impact is if that's repeated time after time after time. Instead of a plate of French fries, you get a plate of salad. Those all add up, and they're so empowering because it says, hey, I can do this, and I can live without the French fries, and I can do it again. And that's where the change happens. It's these small things, and I think we can't discount that because those small changes all add up to lifestyle shifts, and that's what we're talking about.
And I think once you can conquer that, then you can go on to maybe even making a bigger decision. People don't realize. It's like, okay, you were talking about let's strength training. I mean, you look like you're very toned. You know, I want to share with people, I mean, how important is strength training as opposed to 30 minutes on the treadmill?
Oh.
Even though that has value too.
Oh, absolutely.
They all have value.
Yes.
But strength training.
Absolutely. Strength training, I mean, some people call it the fountain of youth, and I would have to agree because strength training really is the key to our longevity. I'm not going to say, I mean, cardio is it's super important, but the tides are turning now, and we're realizing that yes, while cardiovascular health is important, it's also just as important to have muscle, because once we turn 30, we start to lose it. So between 30 and 40, we lose up to 8% of our muscle every decade. So imagine what that means when you turn 80. If you want to be able to get up and down the stairs in your house, if you want to be able to lift up a bag of groceries from your trunk, you need muscle. And so that's where strength training is so essential. It doesn't just look good, it is foundational, and it is essential if we want to be kicking it when we're 85.
Well, they say the biggest indicator of age is your posture, and it's because people have not, they have allowed themselves, to go like, and eventually you see them at parties or whatever, and it is true.
Yeah.
I think if a person stands very strong, has strong arms, the strength, hold up their core, whatever, and I just think they look more youthful and vibrant, as opposed to somebody that walks across the room that looks like they're already ready to go into a nursing home. They're very slow and sluggish because they've not done the strength training. All right, so you have your podcast, you have a YouTube. I see you on YouTube. You've been out in the public. I mean, is there anything that I didn't discuss, even though I have all the questions here, I didn't even look down, that you would like to share with our audience that I have not covered about what you provide, the services that you provide?
I think the biggest thing that I want any person to know who works with me or engages with my content or comes across any of my posts or whatever is to know that it is important that we take care of ourselves, and especially as women who often take on many roles and are often seen as caretakers and nurturers, we often end up doing that at the cost of taking care of ourselves. But what is so essential is that when you take care of yourself, when you are so bold as to put yourself and your needs first, everyone around you wins. Ask my kids, I am a much nicer person after I've exercised because I've checked that box and I've taken care of me, and now I'm here for them. If you need a snack, I got you. If you need a ride to soccer, I got you. And again, it's being able to take care of yourself so that everyone around you can also win, but especially you. Yeah,
that is true. All right, is there anything, for people out there that's like, look, I haven't stayed on my diet, I haven't done much. Summer's here. I know you're not going to be able to click, but I think it's better sometimes to start losing the weight in the summer because you're outdoors. You may have more access to fresh fruits and vegetables. Yeah. And you're able to, things seem a little bit lighter. Why we wait till winter when we're hibernating? I don't know. But you share with our audience, is there something that we could do to start up? Just take that step and stay on task. Yeah. I don't want to nobody wants to fail at another lifestyle change.
The first step, go for a walk. I mean, I know that's very trite and simple. Go for a walk. Like, that's it. So many people make it so complicated. It does not have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be, again, a big, long session. Go for a walk, pick a vegetable, drink more water, get more sleep. It does not have to be over-scientized. Choose one thing and get really good at it, and then add to it. Success breeds success. It does not have to be big.
Well, they even said if you just walked, they say up to maybe 30 would be a great start, even 15 minutes if you started, whatever. Keep adding 5 more minutes. You do up an hour, you will see significant change. Yeah. And eating, of course, you can't come back and eat hot fudge sundae all the time, but you start making healthier choices when you go for a walk. You don't want to blow your...
Absolutely. It's a keystone habit. For some people, exercise is a keystone habit. So when they exercise, they don't feel like eating candy and cookies because they're like, I just exercise. And that exercise leads to a chain reaction of other positive habits. Hey, I'm going to sleep more tonight. I'm going to go to bed earlier. I'm going to choose a veggie instead of French fries today. A success breeds success. I know I keep saying it, but it's so important to find those little wins and to use them to fuel others. It's just essential. It's essential.
I think sometimes we need a little kick, but when we're starting with our health regimen, we need somebody to help us maybe think differently, look at food differently, and maybe it's the emotional aspect. So how can I get a hold of you?
Sure. You can find me at my website. It's www.carriehollandmd.com. I also have a YouTube channel. It's Carrie Holland MD. You can find me on social, also at Carrie Holland MD. And then I also have a weekly podcast called Strong as a Mindset that comes out every Wednesday.
Thank you very much, Terry.
Thanks
I'm
so
going to
much.
have you back on the show, Doctor.
Thanks so much for having
really
me.
excited, but I want to
Appreciate
thank you, Doc. I'm going to call you Carrie because we're good friends.
Yes, please.
You know what? But this is Pamela Keim. We will catch you next time. Take care, everyone.